China's economic growth collapses. Let's have a look. Good morning, everyone. Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I'm here with my morning stein of coffee. I've had a good Saturday breakfast, and now I thought I'd record some videos to avoid chores. I hope you're all having a good weekend as well. Let's start the day by having a look at this article discussing, well, the not so shocking at all drop in China's GDP growth. Now, this is important to all of us here in Australia. For those of you that aren't aware, China's GDP has never, in all recorded time, since the early 90s, hasn't gone below zero. So their growth. So if they keep this up for 2 quarters, they're in a recession. In a recession. China has never been in recession as far as this little chart here tells us. If you trust the data coming out of there, that's another point for discussion. But remember, the market will respond to this. Now, Australia, we're often treated, and our currency is treated as a proxy for China. And this is because, if we have a look here at the Observatory of Economic Complexity, we are a quarry nation. We mine and farm a lot of raw products and some foodstuffs. And the largest destination for all of our exports is China, 35%. Now you'll hear people, particularly now where there's a push for more government stimulus, reminding everyone about the GFC and how Rudd's brilliant plan to give money out to people saved Australia from the GFC. Well, no, it didn't. Not really. The fact that China ramped up their construction projects increased the demand for Australian resources and exports, particularly our iron ore. Australia is actually the biggest exporter of iron ore in the world. So, yeah, that had an impact. And if you're thinking, oh, how does iron ore affect, flow through the economy? I don't believe in trickle down. I can give you an example, not from iron ore, but from coal. My business, we started up and we won a project doing some modular design, just 1 or 2 little concepts, and that ended up winning us 2 huge mine projects, the mine industry areas, all these support and office buildings on the mine. That helped me start my business, grow my staff, buy a home, spend money in Brisbane. That's how it works, guys. It is possible. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at this article, because this fall in China is going to have an impact on Australia, everyone. Because, Treasury, several government departments, even our Treasurer, were hoping that domestic demand from China would help prop up our economy. So China experienced its worst economic contraction in decades as a result of the illness. And it's grim news for the rest of the world. I think it's particularly grim news for us here in Australia. China suffered its worst economic contraction since at least the 1970s in the first quarter as it fought the illness, and weak consumer spending and factory activity suggests it faces a longer, harder recovery than initially expected. The world's second largest economy shrank 6.8% from a year ago in the 3 months ending in March after factories, shops and travel were closed to contain the infection, official data showed on Friday. You've got to appreciate, let's jump here. Let's just have a look at China, guys. At the size of their economy. So they've got a much more advanced economy than Australia with regards to the complexity, and that's to do with what they manufacture and what they export. Their exports is the largest in the world, 2.41 trillion. Their imports are the second largest in the world, 1.54 trillion. So they're a pretty big economy, and China taking a hit is going to have implications. It's definitely going to have implications, and they'll trickle through the economy, guys. Some forecasters earlier said China, which led the way into a global shutdown to fight the virus, might rebound as early as this month. But they have been cutting growth forecasts and pushing back recovery timelines as negative trade, retail sales and other data pile up. And I mean, what's going to happen if we have a second outbreak in China and more shutdowns? There's rumors of that going around, but at this stage, I think it's just rumors. I don't think we will see a real recovery until the fourth quarter or the end of the year, said economist Zhu Zhenzin of the Rusi Financial Institute in Beijing. Retail spending, which supplies 80% of China's economic growth last year, plunged 19% in the first quarter from a year earlier, below most forecasts. Investment in factories and other fixed assets, the major growth driver, sank 16.1%. And that's going to have an impact on our economy here in Australia, guys. The ruling Communist Party declared victory over the virus in early March and started reopening factories and offices even as the United States and Europe tightened controls. But cinemas, hair salons, and other businesses that are deemed non-essential but employ millions of people are still closed, and tourism is struggling to recover. I had a family member that went for a hair appointment the other day, and I'm going to pretend that's why I'm letting my beard grow out. It's, to contain the virus, not because it just gets away from me. Controls on Beijing, the capital, and some other cities have been tightened to prevent a resurgence of the disease. Most foreigners are barred from entering the country. Well, we're not really hearing about criticism of that in the media, are we? Consumer spending is slow to recover despite government moves to encourage spending by giving out shopping vouchers in some cities and launching a media campaign showing officials eating in restaurants. Many would-be shoppers are holding onto their money out of fear about possible job losses. Others are reluctant to venture into supermarkets or even leave their homes. Well, I don't blame people for that. And, holding onto their money, what's going to happen? First it's vouchers, then it's propaganda, then it's more money, then it's more money, then it's more money. This is the thing. All the concerns with regards to inflation and stimulating the economy, you've got to counter it. You've got a counterweight or a negating factor, which is people's fear over this. So that is a blow to automakers and other companies that hope China will power the world economy out of its most painful slump since the 1930s. I will definitely be more thrifty, said Zhang Zilhoi, a 26-year-old marketing manager in Beijing. He said his company, which has yet to reopen, is paying him 1,500 yuan per month, but his finances are strained paying a mortgage. His girlfriend lost her job when her employer failed due to the epidemic. I will save money to get through possible difficulties, he said. If I had done that, I wouldn't be like what I am now. There you go. Anxious but unable to do anything. That's it right there. That is the never again moment. I've been binge watching a lot of Dave Ramsey while I've been drafting the last couple of days. That's the never again moment you're seeing people having. And I don't think it'll only be in China. I think it'll be all over the world. It's going to be a change. It will affect an entire generation of people. A millennial's going to realize, to hell with all this stuff, wasting money on this crap. I don't need it. I'm wondering, let me know if you think I'm dreaming here. If you're getting a whole lot of people who are locked away and are actually having to learn how to cook and prepare food for themselves, if they'll start to switch, going, wait a minute, my wage has been smashed, but I'm saving money because I'm eating at home, I'm cooking myself. How much money am I wasting on all this stuff? And then you start looking, you look at the credit card every time you're tapping it. Uh-oh, wait a minute, I spent $300 that month on junk, on coffees. I wonder if that will have a lasting impact. The Great Depression affected, the greatest generation. All the generations, a big trust. This cannot, I can't believe that this will not have an impact going forward, just in people's behavior. I bloody well hope it will. But then again, Afterpay's still going gangbusters, isn't it? The ruling party appealed to companies to keep paying employees and avoid layoffs. It is promising tax breaks and loans to help entrepreneurs get back on their feet. Still, a wave of bankruptcies has flooded the job market, adding to economic anxiety. Auto sales sank 48.4% from a year earlier in March, but auto sales have already been terrible all over the world. That was better than February's record 81.7% plunge, but is on top of a 2-year-old decline that already was squeezing global and Chinese automakers in the industry's biggest global market. Well, there you go. Exports declined 6.6% in March from a year ago. That was an improvement over the double-digit plunge in January and February, but forecasters warn exporters likely face another downturn as the fight against the virus depresses US and European consumers. Forecasters, including Oxford Economics, UBS, and Nomura, say China will have little or no economic growth this year. Okay, so if China has little or no economic growth this year, how is that going to affect Australia here? And here you go, here's Australia's growth forecast. The operator of still shuttered fitness centre in the western city of Xinyang said he doesn't know whether the business will survive. The business may go bankrupt, and I would have to find something else to do, said the owner, who would only give his surname, Liu. I probably butchered that. Beijing is trying to prop up activity by spending more on building next-generation telecoms networks and other projects. But the ruling party doesn't want to pump too much money into the economy for fear of adding to debt or pushing up inflation that is near a 7-year high. Chinese leaders probably will adopt stimulus measures at least as big as their response to the 2008 crisis, but will emphasize quality instead of quantity, said Mr. Zhao at the Rushi Finance Institute. So if they're focusing on a technical deployment of this stimulus, and Australia's primary exports to China are raw materials, like iron ore and coal and other things like that, is it going to have the same impact on our economy as when China was doing massive construction stimulus? I don't know. I do not know. I'd imagine it wouldn't. He said money was likely to go to technology development and social welfare instead of construction, as it did in 2008. There you go. So, well, Australia isn't a technology powerhouse. I love all those people that say, you know, Australia should be like the world leader in sustainable energy or, you know, solar panels because we happen to have desert and sunshine. They don't realize that there's actually a whole complex manufacturing process that is meant to sit behind that. We can be the world leader in importing shit. That's what we are. You know, it's that simple. We need to get larger scales of production to compete. Last year's economic growth sank to a multi-decade low of 6.1% under pressure from weak consumer demand and a tariff war with President Donald Trump that depressed exports. The epidemic has amplified that problem, so the pace of recovery will be much slower. So there you go, and there's Australia's growth forecast, 0.83, which I would say is probably a little optimistic. Maybe it's based on that outdated ABS unemployment data. What do you reckon, guys? Well, as always, please leave your thoughts, opinions, and comments below. If you're a fan of the channel and you want to support us, there's several ways you can. You can share the videos and help the channel grow. You can support us financially via Patreon or PayPal by joining the channel. You can use our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay for your consumer purchases, or Independent Reserve and Kucoin for the crypto traders out there. You can send us gold using Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or buy our merch from HeiseSays or Teespring. Take care, guys. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.